This time I call to order Planning and Zoning Board, City of Lake City, February 6th. And I've been informed that our legal counsel has wandered off. All right, hold that thought.
Let's make the best.
You go ahead and leave the video running, but please silence the audio. Almost pulled the boat out of dock without you, Hoss. We're ready to go live. Very nice. All right, at this time now, I will call to order Planning and Zoning Board meeting, City of Lake City. The date is February 6th, 2024. All please rise for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Bow our heads. Lord, thank you for your grace and mercy. Bless our deliberations this day. Give us wisdom to make sound recommendations. We ask for these blessings in your name, Lord. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Mr. Angelo, roll call of attendees.
Ms. McCollum?
Here.
Mr. Nelson?
Here.
Mr. Mann?
Here.
Mr. Carter?
Present.
And Mr. Leidick?
Present. All right, a quorum being constituted. Moving to meeting minutes of our previous session, which would have been January 3rd, 2024. Copies were electronically distributed. I trust everyone has had the opportunity to read and review those minutes as sent out by our city administration. This time, did anyone identify any additions, corrections, or deletions that need to be made to those minutes?
No.
Very nice. Seeing and hearing none, do we have a motion for their adoption?
Move to adopt minutes, January 3rd, 2024.
Second.
Carter and Nelson on the second. By hand vote, all in favor of adoption of the minutes?
Aye.
Hands down, likewise opposed. Minutes are unanimously approved. There being no old business on the boards, let's move to new business. Petition LDR 24-01, a text amendment to the Land Development Regulations, Section 4.2 and Sections 4.4 through 4.17, more specifically amending parking requirements for the City of Lake City. Mr. Martin?
Were you asking me to administer the oath,
Or any other business you may want to take care of before we get this vote too far away from Harper.
Okay. We don't need to swear in for this particular part of the agenda because this part is not quasi-judicial. It would be when we move into the Board of Adjustment and Historic Preservation Agency that we would get into that.
All right.
So, and this being my first P&Z meeting like this, do I traditionally introduce the subject matter or?
No, that'll be Mr. Angelo.
Okay, then, okay, you just said, or anything else. I wanted to make sure there wasn't another expectation, so.
All right.
All right.
Mr. Angelo?
So this is for text amendment for LDR 24-03. We are amending the LDR parking requirements throughout the whole LDR to do a complete rewrite of all the parking regulations. If you wouldn't mind pulling up under the LDR 24-01, it says parking requirements text amendment, the third one down. All right, so as I've stated, this is a parking requirements text amendment. If you would go to the next slide. And we researched it, prepared it, and adopted it. Next slide. And next one, this is kind of the process that it'll go through. We prepared it, we drafted the text amendment. It'll go through the Planning and Zoning Board. After this meeting, then it will go to 2 readings with the City Council to adopt it. And then after that, it will be part of our land development regulations. So why are we doing this? Parking requirements and the land development regulations have not been updated since the early or mid-90s. 1996 is when the LDR was adopted. We've had some little small text amendments, nothing major. This will be the first overhaul of the actual parking requirements for the city. And business models have changed. Retailers and other businesses are adjusting to online shopping. Doctors and dental offices are now doing teledoc. Professional offices are also doing more virtual meetings. So with that, you've had a lot less requirement for parking, and so that brings that down. Less impervious surfaces can also help create more green spaces and designs, and less parking could leave more spaces for crosswalks, mobility, and making sites safer. Next slide. So as you can see here, this is an example of one of the amendments. This is a big box retail store, and it currently requires 1 space for every 150 square feet of non-storage floor area. So if you have a 40,000 square foot facility with about 4,000 square feet of storage, this facility would require about 240 parking spaces currently. The new amendment would be 4 spaces for every 1,000 square feet of gross floor area, but not to exceed 5 spaces for each 1,000 square feet. So the same facility would have anywhere from 160 to 200 parking spaces. And as you can see, it is a considerable drop in the number, which is going to allow for more green spaces, more safety, and that for the sites. Next slide, please. This is for a general retailer, and so 1 space for every 150 square feet of non-storage floor area, just as the other one was too. This for a 10,000 square foot store with 1,000 square feet of parking space would equate to about 60 parking spaces. That same facility would, on the new one, would be 1 parking space for every 300 square feet. And so that same facility then would only require about 33 parking spaces. And next slide. Medical office is 1 space for each 150 square feet of floor area. As you can see, they kind of use the same formula for every single use. And then when they did this, and it was across the board in all categories, but each parking requirement was with each land use. It wasn't in a separate area with section 4.2 is. And so this 3,500 square foot facility with 5 exam rooms and 10 employees would require about 24 parking spaces. That same facility, the new parking requirements would be 1 space for each employee plus 2 spaces for each exam room. So the same facility would require about 20 parking spaces. So bringing it down just a little bit. A hotel, and 1 space, it's currently 1 space for every sleeping room plus 2 spaces for the owner or manager. And so a 100-room hotel with 10 employees, no restaurant or bars. This facility would need about 102 parking spaces currently. The new requirement would be 1 space for each 1.5 rooms plus 1 space for each employee. Same facility require about 77 parking spaces. So one of the other ones I did, I don't have it on the slide, is I looked at a current parking lot. And Publix is probably one of the most mentioned sites in the area that doesn't have enough parking. And you go through there and there's never a parking space. So I looked at that one, and there should have about 400, almost 500 parking spaces in there, and they have about 270. And so big difference from what they should. Under the new regulations, they would still not meet even the new regulations. The new regulations would be about 350 parking spaces. They're still at about 270. And so still a big difference from where they should be. If you add another 50 to 70 parking spaces there, that would fix the problem there. And but so it's not a regulation issue on that. It's just that it was not done. They didn't meet the requirement back then when it was put in. Any questions?
Questions from members of the board?
Would Publix be considered a big box?
No, it's considered a shopping plaza because you have other entities there. And so we look at it as a shopping plaza. And that's what I would do. I went back and looked at what is a shopping plaza versus what it would be now. And then when you equate it all out by the square footages and what it came out. I did it based on everything being retail, which that's usually the most intense. And I didn't account for like Gators Dockside being a restaurant and stuff. I didn't look at it individually that way. And I just looked at it as all the square footage being for retail space.
Any other questions from members of the board?
I'm still confused about Publix. Tonight, we're voting on big box, retail, medical, and hotel.
No, this is, if you go through the requirements there, this is for every use. And so the text amendment, if you read through, you'll see where we've done a strike through on all the amendment, or where we're gonna take it out of each section.
Yep.
And then in section 4.2, where the parking requirements are, we've added the actual parking requirements, which will be consistent then throughout the whole regulations. And it'll give one spot to go through instead of having to look up each zoning class separately.
And that's on page 7 through 11 of the first attachment that came along with this petition. One comment I have, how amenable you believe the city to be to possibly do a little bit of minor tweaking on this for the sorts of things that may develop as far as I see the category clubs, lodges, and charitable fraternals. One space for each bedroom plus one space for each 5 members. For example, we don't have many clubs or charitable fraternals left in town. If, for example, a new clubhouse was to be built by Fraternal Order of Police, and you're looking at an overall membership in the combined city-county area of hundreds of individuals that are part of that organization, I think the requirements of one space for every 5 members, if there's 500 members, now you're looking at 100 parking spots for a facility that only 25, 30 may show up at any given time. Was there anything particularly unbecoming about the previous square footage requirement that lent you to move over to the parking spaces per active members on the rolls?
No, and this is where a lot of these numbers came from and the requirements. We looked at a lot of jurisdictions, throughout the area. What have some of the other jurisdictions got on the books as far as their parking requirements? And that's where a lot of this data came from. And Mr. Young provided that information, whether he pulled from other jurisdictions.
And these requirements through the Board of Adjustment could be petitioned for variance from how it's printed here in your proposal for 4.2.
Currently, the way that it is written, there would be no variance, accepted for it. And because it would be as of the regulation, we'd have to write that into the text amendment that, that based on maybe like a traffic study, or not a traffic study, but a parking study for the site, then they could have a variance based on, what the regulations are. But as it's written right now, that is not in there, which currently the regulations does not allow for a variance to the parking requirements also. And so neither one would, the way it currently is. But that is definitely something that we could go back and, rewrite it in there and add that while we're, doing this. That's why we're, bringing it from the board, get y'all's feedback before it goes to the city council.
Right, any other questions or comments from members of the board? Mr. Angelo?
Mr. Chair, I would just like to agree that I believe a mechanism should be in place for exceptions. Obviously, like the one you described there are places like that that theoretically are large and would never need dozens of spaces.
Correct. If a membership is on the rolls, that doesn't necessarily mean they visit the establishment.
Sure.
Correct. So yeah, so we could table it today and then revisit this again in March And then that way we can, write that in there and then do it all at once, instead of doing this text amendment, then having to come back and amend it again. We can table this or continue it till the March meeting, and then at that time, then we could rehear it.
In the preparation of this, I understand you did a fair amount of due diligence, looking at what other cities do to handle this situation. Have we had the opportunity to reach out to some of our local business owners in these certain categories? And perhaps some may come to the podium and speak tonight when I open this up to public comment. But we reach out to anyone that is a leader in some of these categories and say, other cities are doing it this way. Does this work for you in your opinion, or are we barking up the wrong tree?
Right. We have not done that, but that is definitely something that we can do. We could reach out to, a lot of the business owners along with, maybe the engineers and that in the area and kind of get their feedback. And then that way it is vetted and done, one time, and that way it's right for the city. And, and that's at the end of the day, that's what we want. We want it right for the citizens. We don't want to create an issue, for parking. We don't want a huge parking lot that is only 25% full all the time. And but at the same time, we don't want to pull in a plaza that you have to drive around for 15 minutes looking for, a parking space. And so we want to make sure we avoid both of those.
And then furthermore, at what point would a big box become a plaza? Is the addition of one additional separately addressed retail space tacked onto the end of it sufficient to turn a big box into a plaza?
Yeah, so basically if you had like a Lowe's or Home Depot or something like that, and you had another, like you take Big Lots, they've got, 3 other entities or 4 other entities right there beside them. That is now considered a shopping plaza. And they all share the same parking lot, and that would constitute a shopping plaza. Where a Lowe's or Home Depot, Walmart, they're considered big box retailers because they have their own parking lot and they don't share it with nobody else.
Anything else from Mr. Angelo?
So could we do that business survey before the March meeting?
Yes.
All for me. Correct, you may be seated. At this time, are there any other members here in attendance that would like to speak either for or against petition LDR 24-01 as it has been presented?
I just,
Stop for just 1 sec. All right, so Mr. Martin, based on the previous emails received, we are no longer oathing public comment during a P&Z, is that correct?
You don't need to do it on a text amendment.
Okay.
And so it's the context of the matter being considered, and in this case, it's a policy decision, not an application of law to fact or fact to law, I guess is the better way to put it. And so you don't need to swear them in or handle it as a quasi judicial matter.
Okay. In the past, this board has had the tradition of going ahead and oathing everybody just for across the board application of this. So we'll take testimony not under oath for this one.
Yes, the public can comment without it being under oath, and you can consider it accordingly and weigh it accordingly.
Names and addresses of record still need to be collected by the administrator?
Actually, it's always nice if a member of the public does provide that, but there are actually Attorney General opinions and case law out there that says you can't require it if someone declines to provide it. So,
If you feel so inclined, your name with spelling and your legal address of record to Mr. Angelo.
Carol Chadwick. I've been here before, I think he knows how to spell my name. 1208 Southwest Fairfax, Glen, Lake City, Florida. I just wanted to say that I fully support going through the parking requirements at this time, because I know some businesses are waiting for this to happen so that they can proceed with their plans on their development or the projects that they want to complete. And a lot of times you do see empty parking lots all over because they never get full. Although there is still some in public, it's just in the very far corner and people don't want to walk. But I fully support this as a professional engineer that uses these regulations every day.
Have you had an opportunity to review some of these regs as?
I have not, but I was hoping that I would be able to get some from Robert tomorrow so I could take a quick look at them. And maybe see if there's something that would be like, instead of saying like floor area minus storage, things like that, that make a difference that you don't really need parking for.
And as a subject matter expert, you'd be willing to come back next month and?
Oh, I'm already on the schedule for next month.
Mhm.
I'll certainly be here.
Very nice. Anything from Ms. Chadwick? You're seated. Is there anyone else in attendance that would like to speak? Come on down.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'm glad I don't have to be
If you
sworn.
feel so inclined.
Yeah, I'm always inclined to get my name. The Lake City Reporter does a good job of giving it out anyhow, about twice a week. For the record, my name is Sylvester Warren, Sylvester, last name Warren. My physical mailing address is 930 Northeast Joe Coney Terrace. And we got one heck of a security system. So, with that being said, I'm a local developer, business owner as well. I applaud the staff for introducing this text amendment. I had the pleasure for a very, very short time to sit on this board. And when I was on the board, what was before us was a dental office that if they have had an opportunity to have this text amendment, things would have turned out differently for them, meaning more favorably for that business owner, that local business owner, that business owner that serves a local population. And so I think it is very prudent and wise that we do it. Whether there needs to be some tweaking to it, and variances, because I do understand what you're saying. Hey, if something don't fit for variances, but by God, we definitely need to catch up and live in the 2024 year and above, beyond rather, and make this happen. Like, this is huge, and it is really stopping people from being able to develop. Because there are some businesses, for instance, I have a friend who's working on opening up a pharmacy, and once you change the text amendment, she can do what she needs to do without so much pervious area or parking, because the spot she wants to get, unfortunately for where she wants to put it at, which would be closer to what I call the hood, it's just not enough land space. And so this would fit perfectly for her, plus it would meet the geographical and demographics of that area. Thank you.
Very nice. Is there anyone else in attendance that would like to speak either for or against petition LDR 24-01? Hearing and seeing none, do we have a motion to close public comment?
Motion to close public comment.
Carter and Ms. McCellum? By hand sign?
Aye.
Aye. Hands down? Likewise opposed? All right, public comment on this has now been closed. Discussion amongst members of the board and city administration. What's everyone's thoughts?
Mr. Chair, I think it's an excellent idea. Obviously, we've had some folks come before us to petition various projects, and this has been a holdup for them. I think reading through all of this, it generally looks excellent. I would say just a mechanism for special exceptions, I think, would be probably the most important thing. And it would come up in the future if, again, we run into a situation where what regulations we have now in the future also don't quite fit a certain business. So I think it was just a small addendum to the mechanism, so to speak, to look more closely at a particular item would be very important. But otherwise, I think it's a great idea.
Okay. Mr. Young, in general, I assume this has already been vetted through attorney circles?
No, not yet.
Okay, so how much of a burden would it be on time of your department, most notably Mr. Angelo, to insert language providing a mechanism by where the Board of Adjustment could offer the opportunity for citizenry or business owners to request variance from the proposed criteria.
We should have it by the next meeting in March.
And that does not create an undue burden on y'all.
Well, everything creates a
I said undue, I meant everything creates a burden, it would be undue.
No, it's something we can handle.
Okay. In that case, any additional comments amongst members of the board? Anything you'd like to add, Counselor?
No, Mr. Chair.
All right, if I understand the tenor of the board at this moment, it seems like the proper course of action, Mr. Counselor, would be to call for a motion to table this until additional language is added, is that correct?
That is probably the best path to take it at this point.
All right, at this time, do we have a motion to table or approve or deny text amendment petition LDR 24-01 as presented by City of Lake City?
Motion to table LDR 24-01 to allow staff to create some addendums and do a little bit of tweaking until March.
I'd also like to add that the sort of the survey or reaching out to business leaders.
All right, so
Yes.
we have a motion. Did we get a second?
Second.
Mr. Nelson with the second. So as of right now, we have a motion and a second to table 24-01 until such time as variance language can be added and a canvassing of local city business owners can be conducted to ensure that these numbers fit our needs. Everyone's in agreement with the language of that? Very nice. Mr. Angelo, please call the yeas and the nays.
Ms. McCollum?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Mr. Rand?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yay.
And Mr. Leidig?
Yay. All right, unanimously, we have tabled text amendment petition LDR 24-01 until such time as we can have a survey and additional language put in allowing for variance. Next item of new business, resolution PZSP01, drafted by Clay Martin, City Attorney. A resolution from the Planning and Zoning Board denying petition SPR 22-15, a site plan review for Circle K on property located within Columbia County on parcels 02524-001 and 02524-002. Is this going to be a Mr. Angelo or a Mr. Martin introducing this since?
Mr. Martin?
Okay, as the author, you will introduce?
Yes, I can introduce.
Very nice, floor is yours.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair, board members. You have before you the mentioned resolution. Looking back a couple of weeks or so ago at the outcome of the quasi-judicial hearings we had on this matter, my notes indicated that the reasons that this board denied that site plan application was that it was an incompatible use, that it was a truck stop under the LDRs, that it was a different primary use. I'm even having trouble reading my own handwriting here because I'm actually looking at my notes from the meeting. There was testimony offered by Mr. Buckholz regarding traffic, indicating that the applicant had not carried their burden, and then there was also other information offered on the same subject by others. That was from Mr. Carter. Mr. McMahon cited the increased traffic. Ms. McCollum cited safety, traffic, and related traffic concerns. And Mr. Nelson agreed with the safety issues. So those are my notes from that meeting. We have tried to stick to those particular rationales as closely as possible within the resolution you have before you. I apologize that everyone got it very late in the process. I can answer any questions about it if you would like, but the basis for denial are in items A through H in the recitals, after the last recital, if you had any questions. But otherwise, that was the basis for denial in my notes. That's what this embodies. It goes on to say that the Land Development Regulation Administrator is authorized to take actions consistent with the actions of the board, and then further compliance with Florida law, that all resolutions or portions of resolutions in conflict are repealed to the extent of conflict and becomes effective upon adoption. So.
And this resolution, can you explain, after a call for ratification of the resolution, the process this will make moving through the next channels? This resolution, as we are not a council, would then have to be taken up by city, or this resolution becomes effective as it comes out of this board through ratification?
It would become effective as the written action of this board upon adoption tonight. The underpinning of this is that to be appealable by a party, there needs to be a written decision of the governing body rendering the decision. So for purposes of allowing the parties, due process, the next step after the hearing is issuing the written basis for the board's decision, so that if a party wanted to appeal that decision, they've got a written basis to do that with or for or on, pick your preposition.
Okay, so this resolution does not need to make a stop for readings at the council level?
Correct. It stands alone as the action of this body.
Okay, just wanted that clarified for all parties involved.
Yes, thank you.
So at this time, we have a resolution that's been sent to us electronically through channels. I trust everyone had the opportunity to look at the language and that it comports with how you crafted your decisions based upon the testimony and the law at hand. I believe at this time, Mr. Martin, we would call for a ratification of that resolution by this board, or a call of adoption.
Let me actually read it by title into the record and then ask for a vote.
Very nice, please do, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, board members, you have before you resolution number 2024 PZ-SP01, a resolution of the Planning and Zoning Board of the City of Lake City, Florida, denying an application for approval of a site plan for a proposed high-speed fueling facility within the corporate limits of the City of Lake City, Florida, providing a basis for denial, repealing all resolutions in conflict, and providing an effective date. Should this board wish to adopt this resolution, the appropriate motion would be to adopt resolution number 2024 PZ-SP01 as read by title only.
Any questions? Do we have a motion for adoption as it has been read into the record?
Motion to adopt resolution PZ-SP01.
Second.
Mr. Carter and Mr. Nelson with the second. Mr. Angelo, will you please call the yeas and the nays?
Ms. McCollum?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Mr. Mann?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yay.
And Mr. Leidy?
Yay. Unanimous adoption of the resolution. It moves further through the chain.
Now, I wanted to ask if it is appealable, it would go to the Board of Adjustment.
Hold that thought for just 1 second. New business having been concluded, we can now move into workshop discussion and questions. Please restate your workshop question.
A workshop question, I was just looking into the,
Well, we're gonna workshop this one, don't you worry.
well, it might be on the agenda. The next step for an appeal would be to the Board of Adjustment, which means us again, is that correct?
That is what your land development regulations call for. We need to do some research on that, because the whole concept of due process is that you get a hearing before someone else on appeal. And so we need to do some research to make sure that if the LDRs as currently drafted are followed, that it's going to effectively give the due process that they're guaranteed by the Constitution. If not, then it's entirely possible that we may be coming to you with a text amendment to modify the current language to allow for whatever the next step is, depending on our research, it may be directly to the council. It may be to a circuit court. It would ultimately depend on what the council wants to do at the end of the day, because they would be the ones ultimately considering any text amendment via an ordinance adoption, so.
And do you have any inkling whether or not council wants to touch this with a 10-foot pole?
We have not even begun to discuss that matter, so.
Understood. Anything else under workshop? Since we do have a new legal counsel representing, and we are changing some of the manners in which we're doing things, at this time, obviously floor is yours. Are there anything, or is there anything you'd like to discuss about things we need to tighten up on, or discussions we need to have in future workshops to make this board perform as best as can be expected?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think moving forward, you're going to find that, although, again, keep in mind that this is my first board meeting that was a regularly scheduled board meeting. So I'm learning about you as much as you're learning about me, and so I'm going to be hesitant to say you need to do this differently until I've sat through a few of these. That said, if there's anything that you may get a sense of being a little bit different, it may be that the idea that both me, the attorneys I practice with in my firm as well, tend to look to the quasi-judicial process probably more than you may be accustomed to. Over time, different courts have applied the concepts of due process via the quasi-judicial process in a way that really takes in just about everything you do except a text amendment. And we want to work with you to find a way to apply that, but do it in a way that doesn't create burdens for the board and for the public as well. So we've got a very comprehensive process that we have used and recommended for adoption, but that said, it's very easy when we've got a very small issue to modify it down to allow the process to fit the circumstances. So just hang tight. We'll figure it all out together. So.
I see your hand down there, Mr. Angelo.
I do, yeah. So a couple things. One, I want to petition the board to see what workshops you would like to see over the next few months. As we go through the year, each quarter, I want to do that and kind of see is there something that is pertinent to the board that you would like to see as a workshop, and then something you need more information on, more training. What does that look like for the board, and then that way we can all grow together.
Mr. Chair, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the city council has a workshop coming up in March on general Robert's Rules, decorum, things of that nature. I don't think it would be a bad idea for us to have the same thing, to some degree, the same sort of presentation, kind of get us all on the same page. And obviously, it's pretty relevant to what council was just saying, but I think it would just overall get us all on the same page. I imagine that many of us have served on some board or other at some time, and everybody does it a little different. But the idea that we are all using the same terms and kind of seeing it through the same lens from a procedural standpoint, I think is a good idea. So
That would be beneficial.
so that'd be great, Mr. Angel.
Anything else? All right, well, there's been,
If I could,
please.
council, I know we talked about changing the date of this meeting.
Yes.
Just hang tight on that.
Okay.
Just hang tight.
Oh, I already briefed all my family, the date's changing.
Okay. Well,
We moved things around.
well, just hang tight, because we're actually trying to shuffle the deck chairs in our office in a way that may make it easier for everybody here to not have to adjust their schedule. We're looking at things. So give me another week or so, and I'll be able to let you know something, Rob.
That being said, was there anyone on the board that had a problem moving this to a second Tuesday as opposed to a first Tuesday? So the entire board is supportive of second Tuesday, if that's the trigger you gotta pull, sir.
If that's open, we'll be able to respond with an option of either or perhaps, and then you can make the call.
All right,
Okay.
choices, I like it.
Mr. Chairman, didn't Ms. McKellum have a issue?
Oh, no, she weighed in, she said,
weighed in?
she said it would work better, didn't you?
No, I said,
Oh.
I said the second Tuesday would work better for me, because I have a meeting on.
We're good. Anything else of a workshop or discussion nature from members of the board or the city? All right, in that case, do we have a motion to adjourn planning and zoning February 6th?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Carter and McKellum with the second. By hand vote for adjournment?
Aye.
Aye. Hands down. Likewise opposed. Unanimously, we stand adjourned. All right, at this time, I'd like to call to order Board of Adjustment, City of Lake City, February 6th. Roll call shall remain the same as our previous meeting. Meeting minutes were electronically distributed for our meeting of January the 3rd, 2024. I trust those were received by everyone through channels. I trust everyone's had the opportunity to look those over. At this time, are there any additions, corrections, or deletions that need to be made to the minutes as submitted? All right, seeing and hearing none, do we have a motion calling for their adoption?
Move to adopt minutes, January 3rd, 2024.
Second.
Mr. Carter, Ms. McKellum, by hand vote for adoption of the minutes?
Aye.
Aye. Hands down, likewise opposed. Unanimously, we have meeting minutes. All right, Board of Adjustment being a quasi-judicial affair. At this point, Mr. Martin, do you have any relevant statements you would like to ask of the board?
Yes, Mr. Chair, board members, you have before you three items on the agenda tonight. Special exception application 2401, special exception application 2402, and variance application 2401. I trust that each of the members have had an opportunity to review those. At this time, I'd like to ask of the board members, I'll just run down the dais, but does anyone has anyone had any ex parte communications, meaning communications with members of the public, staff about any of these items that you're going to hear tonight? And if so, just disclose them, and then I may have some follow-up questions. Mr. Nelson?
No.
Okay. Mr. McMahon? No. Chair Leidig?
None other than the regular exercise of my duties as chair of this board, getting this meeting scheduled and getting the agenda prepared.
Okay, thank you. And those conversations with members of city staff, would they impact your ability to give an impartial hearing on any of these items that are on the agenda tonight and weigh the evidence?
They would not.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Carter?
No.
And Ms. McCollum?
No.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chair, at this time you may proceed with the regular order.
Very nice, thank you. New business, petition SE 24-01, petition submitted by Jennifer Standridge, acting as agent for the ARC North Florida, Inc., for special exception for parcel 137340000, in a residential office zoning district as regulated by Land Development Regulations, City of Lake City, Section 4.10.
Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, if I could. Mr. Angelo, as to all three of the matters on the agenda today, could you raise your right hand and take an oath? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God on these three agenda items?
I do.
All right, thank you.
All right, so this first one.
So the first one here is SE 24-01, it's for a Bay Adult Training Facility. It is a special exception. It is currently located in a residential office zoning district, and in the LDR, it requires a special exception be heard for an adult care facility. It is conducive for use per section 4.10.5.19 of the Land Development Regulations with the approval of the special exception.
Anything else for Mr. Angelo for members of the board? All right, you may be seated. This time, do we have Jennifer Standridge acting as agent in attendance?
Good evening.
You swear the testimony that you're about to give before this board to the best of your knowledge and ability is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, it is.
Very nice. Name with spelling and legal address and record for Mr. Angelo, please.
I'm not Jennifer. Mom and Dad would be mad about that. I'm Beverly Standridge. But it's okay. Jennifer's a pretty name. I'm here to this evening to explain that we currently offer adult day services in Live Oak, and we were approached by ResCare, which provides group homes here in this community, to open a adult day training for people with intellectual disabilities. And we thought it's best that they learn their community, so that's why we bought the building. They would come Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. They're dropped off. We teach them daily living skills, laundry, community exploration, those kinds of things. So that's what the building will be used for. No one will sleep there. There won't be no foot traffic. The buses come, drop them off, and leave, and that's what it'll be used for.
And this is for the special exception for that particular use, and you will be back in front of our subsequent board for a COA.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so these are two separate items that we're discussing, everybody.
Yes.
All right, do we have any questions for the agent?
How many people at one time would you expect in the building?
Well, they approached us for 22 people, so it won't go above that. And more than likely, they won't all come on the same day, but it'll be a rotation of 22 people.
And it's not 24 hours?
No,
Okay.
it's Monday through Friday, 8 to 4.
Okay.
Mhm.
And what medical support requirements do you have?
We don't have any requirements because we're not nurses or nursing assistants. We're more of like ADL, teaching adult daily living skills and safety and those kinds of things. We specialize in that arena. Now, these individuals with ResCare do have medical complications, but their nurses come care for them and leave. You know, they'll come do their JPEG or G-tube or, you know, those kinds of things. So we don't do that. Anything else?
All right, you may be seated. Thank you. All right, at this time, do we have anyone else in attendance that would like to speak either for or against petition SE 24-01? You swear the testimony you're about to give before this board, to the best of your knowledge and ability, is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Very nice.
Sylvester Warren. All I want to say, Chair, is that I'm thankful for this young lady. I don't know where they come from. My grandmother ran an ALF for 30 years. Very familiar with ResHab. I've worked with ResHab before through my staffing companies and through other means of care. That's an awesome program. I'm glad to see it come. We've never had it to this extent. Typically what you see is ResHab individuals such as me, like say for instance, I get a contract with ResHab as an individual, I go out to the facility. We've never had it where people can go actually to a facility collectively and hang out that share some of the same disabilities and work together and build relationships and get those life skills together. So I greatly support it, and my sister's also special needs, so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Warren. Thank you. Is there anyone else in attendance that would like to speak either for or against petition 24-01 as presented? Seeing and hearing none, do we have a motion to close public comment?
Motion to close public comment.
Second?
Carter and McMahon on the second by hand vote. Aye. Hands down, likewise opposed. All right, unanimously, public comment is closed. Discussion amongst members of the board and city departments.
Seems nice. Seems like a positive. If the departments don't have any heartburn about it, I don't see any reason not to. You're right.
Yeah, I have no comment. Saw no heartburn coming out of any of the departments on the staff review. There's no, do you have something?
No.
Okay. If there's no additional discussion amongst members of the board, do we have a motion to either approve or disapprove petition SE 24-01?
Motion to approve petition SE 24-01.
Second.
It's going to be Carter and McCellum with the second. Mr. Angelo, please call the yeas and the nays.
Ms. McCollum,
Yes.
Mr. Nelson,
Yes.
Mr. Mann,
Yes.
Mr. Carter,
Yay.
and Mr. Leidig.
Yay. All right, unanimous approval of petition SE 24-01. We'll see you in a little bit. Next order of new business, petition SE 24-02. Petition as submitted by Jim Curry, acting as agent for Gateway Development LLC for a special exception for parcels 11915-101, 11915-102, 11915-103, and 11915-104. In residential single-family 3 zoning district as regulated by Land Development Regulations, Section 4.5.
Alright, so this one is for Washington Springs. It's a special exception, it's SE 24-02. It is currently in the residential single-family 3 zoning district. In that zoning district, under section 4.5.5.13, for a standard design manufactured home to be permitted, it requires a special exception, and that's what we are here for today. With the approval of the special exception, it would allow for a standard design manufactured home, which is essentially a single wide home versus the double wide residential design. And with the approval of this, it would also lock that land in as far as that's the only one that would be allowed there. It would not allow for the residential design.
Any questions for Mr. Angelo? All right, thank you. All right, do we have a Jim Curry in attendance to speak as agent for Gateway Development LLC?
I'm Jim Curry.
Not that part
yet, don't get ahead.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give before this board this evening to the best of your knowledge and ability is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Very nice. Name with spelling and legal address of record for Mr. Angelo.
Jim Curry, Curry, and my address is 2127 Forest Gate Drive West, Jacksonville, Florida 32246. Okay.
All right, what would you like to accomplish this evening?
We would just welcome the opportunity. We've owned this property for 17 years and wanted to develop it. We got the property subdivided about a little over a year and a half ago, and we've actually started the process of clearing the land, preparing it. We'd like to have the ability to put standard design or single wide mobile homes on the property. We actually have two subdivisions. We have Washington Springs and Chestnut Springs, and on the Chestnut Springs, we'll keep it as for double wides or single family. And for this property, we would like to have the ability to put single wide mobile homes on it. We've been wanting to develop the property for a long time. We were under the impression we could only put single family homes on it, and it just wasn't economically feasible to do it on this property. But once we discovered we could put mobile homes on it, we moved forward with creating the subdivisions, and now we'd like to be able to start putting the mobile homes on there and offering affordable housing in the neighborhood.
All right, questions for the agent of proponent? All right. And just for clarification, I think I can readily observe it from your site plan drawing here. The LDR is stipulating that ordinarily it would need to be a double wide residential model as opposed to the single wide standard model. seeing the fact that you're only gonna have 15-foot setbacks on the single. Needless to say, there was no feasible way whatsoever a residential model would
It would be difficult. Yeah, it would be difficult. Yeah. We have, I believe those lots are about 50 to 60 feet wide. You could do it, you could squeeze it in, but it'd be very challenging.
and would allow no vehicular access to the rear of the property.
Yes, basically, no vehicle, yes, everything would be front entry and your parking would all be in the front. That's correct.
Nothing else from the board for agent of proponent? All right, you may be seated.
Thank you.
This time, is there anyone in attendance that would like to speak either for or against petition SE 24-02 as presented by Mr. Curry? It gets easier this time. I remind you, you're still under oath.
Oh, that's even better. I hate hearing me say my name over and over. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just wondering, Mr. Chair, and more on the comical and humor side, where are all the mobile home opposers and the, I guess, what were we calling them in that last meeting when the Rocky Fords of the world were here? Manufactured home folks are there. And these are the things that seems to get me wee-weed up, Mr. Chair, when you see me in other meetings, because this is still District 10, but you don't have District 10 councilwoman here arguing about manufactured homes that's still going in District 10, but since it's closer to a certain demographic, there's no pushback, which I welcome what Mr. Curry is doing. I'm an entrepreneur myself. I'm a developer myself. And it's a great concept. I think the board should fully support it. I'm not here against it. I'm just really here to show how biased people are when it comes to mobile home and when it becomes their neck of the woods, so to speak, or in their communities, they don't want them, but if it's in other people's community, they don't show up and say they shouldn't be here, but we all live in that same precinct. But Mr. Curry, great idea, board, I support it. I think the reason that I understood he put single wides there, not only for the simple reason, he correct me if I'm wrong, is that single wides would fit there better, and plus I think there's almost a 1 year to 2 year lead on double wides. And I think the need for affordable housing and letting single wides come in at this time, I think would be very prudent and very helpful to a very underserved community who needs affordable housing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Warren. This time, is there anyone else who would like to speak either for or against petition SE 24-02? Seeing and hearing none, do we have a motion to close public comment?
Motion to close public comment.
Second.
Carter and Ms. Mary on the second, by hand signal?
Aye.
Aye. Hands down. Likewise opposed. Public comment on this issue is now closed. Discussion amongst members of the board and city departments. Obviously no issues. Staff review looked really good.
Seems like a nice idea. Let's see these houses.
Even though public comment is closed at this time, keying off of what Mr. Warren was able to say, I think we can all agree that the previous manufactured housing we had looked at, there was an extra layer of complexity that came up under HPA. It did not come up under Board of Adjustment, and you had historic preservation issues that we were dealing with on that one, which made it so contentious amongst members of the local citizenry at least. But I don't see nearly those issues with this one, as this lies well without or outside of any established historic district boundaries as currently platted on any of our city maps.
Mr. Chair, will these mobile homes be a sale or rental? Or if they're rental, will they ever be able to buy them?
That would be a point of clarification for the proponent. Mr. Curry, would you please rise and come to the microphone? Did you hear the question as addressed?
I want to make sure I understand it, so could you restate it?
Will these mobile homes be for sale, or will they just always be rental, or will the person be able to buy them?
The initial plans is they would be for rental, but that's not to say that at some point, all the lots are separately subdivided and they're separate lots. We've already been approached by people in the community, they'd like to buy them. So we may entertain selling them in the future. So it could go either way. But I would say initially, our initial intention is to rent them.
Did that satisfy your inquiry?
Yes.
Very nice.
Is that it?
You may be seated.
Thank you.
Anything else for members of the board or city? All right, seeing and hearing none, at this time, do we have a motion to either approve or disapprove petition SE 24-02 as submitted by agent of proponent?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve SC 24-02.
Second.
Carter and McMahon with the second. Mr. Angelo, would you please call the yeas and the nays?
Ms. McCollum,
Yes.
Mr. Nelson,
Yes.
Mr. Mann,
Yes.
Mr. Carter,
Yay.
and Mr. Leidig.
Yay. Very nice, with unanimous approval, SE 24-02 has been adopted. Congratulations. Moving along, third item of business for this board this evening, petition 24-01, or I'm sorry, V 24-01, a petition submitted by Carol Chadwick, acting as agent for 2814 LLC for a variance for parcel 11122-001 in a residential single-family 3 zoning district as regulated by Land Development Regulations, Section 4.5.
Alright, so this is for a variance for 407 Northeast LaRousse. It is V 24-01 and is on parcel 11122-001. It's currently located in the residential single-family 3 zoning district. The proposed use is for a single-family dwelling, site-built home, is what is being proposed to be built there. And the current lot would not allow for the size of the home that the applicant is wanting to build there. And so they're requesting to reduce the setbacks from the rear from 15 foot to 10 foot, and on the side from 10 foot to 7 foot. This area was previously platted before the land development regulations was put in place. So the regulations is what's putting the burden on the property, so it does allow for a variance in this situation.
All right, anything from Mr. Angelo? No. All right, you may be seated. Ms. Carroll, come on down. All right, so for this one, we gotta do this, okay? You swear that the testimony you're about to give before this board this evening to the best of your knowledge and ability is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Name and legal address for Mr. Angelo.
Carol Chadwick, 1208 Southwest Fairfax Glen, Lake City, Florida.
All right, floor is yours.
Due to the extremely small size of this property, it's 0.043 acres. Trying to fit a functioning single-family residential home is challenging, to say the least. The owners want to build a small home for the elderly people. He's trying to bring more affordable housing into the area, and in order to fit a house that is functioning, we need to have the setbacks reduced. I know it's been advertised, so I don't know. I know it was a cute little house inside. I did have floor plans for it too.
All right, anything from Ms. Chadwick? All right, you may be seated. think I know the answer to this question, but is there anyone in attendance that would like to speak either for or against petition V 24-01 as submitted by Ms. Chadwick? All right. Seeing and hearing none, do we have a motion to close public hearing?
Motion, close public comment.
I'm sorry, yes, close public comment, not close public hearing.
I'll second his motion
And
to close
McMahon on the
public comment.
second, by hand sign?
Aye.
Aye, hands down. Likewise opposed, seeing none, public comment is now closed. Discussion amongst members of the board or city?
Again, seems like a nice idea, as long as the movement of the setbacks isn't gonna affect any utilities or anything like that.
And staff report came back clear on this one as well. I have no comment myself. Seeing and hearing no additional comment, do we have motion to either approve or disapprove petition V 24-01 as presented?
Motion to approve V 24-01 as presented.
Second.
Carter and McCellum with the second. You're getting a lot of them tonight.
You know, hey, listen, I'd like to move along.
The yeas and the nays, if you would, please.
All right, Ms. McCollum,
Yes.
Mr. Nelson,
Yay.
Mr. Mann,
Yes.
Mr. Carter,
Yay.
and Mr. Leidig.
Yay. All right, unanimously, you have approval on petition V 24-01. All right, similar to our previous set of meetings, we do have workshop and discussion items to at least address. I know coming up, Mr. Angelo or members of this board may have some requests on things we may want to discuss as far as Board of Adjustment specific items go moving forward in the next couple months. So if you have ideas for workshop items, pass them on to Mr. Angelo. Mr. Martin, do you have anything you'd like to bring up for the board as a matter of a Board of Adjustment discussion or workshop item?
Nothing from the city attorney's office.
Ooh, invoking the title. All right. Well, seeing and hearing no workshop or discussion items, at this time, do we have a motion to adjourn the Board of Adjustment, City of Lake City, February 6th?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Carter and McMahon with the second, by hand sign?
Aye.
Aye. Hands down, likewise opposed. All right, unanimously, we stand adjourned. This time, let's call a 10-minute recess. I've noticed a few individuals have had to get up and avail themselves of the facilities during the course of this meeting. Let's go ahead and cut audio and video for about 10 minutes, and we will come back and get through our agenda of HPA. right, with our recess being concluded, at this time I call to order the Historic Preservation Agency, City of Lake City, February 6th, 2024. Our roll call shall remain the same from our two previous meetings. This time we have two housekeeping items to take care of, and we will do this individually. First is the review of meeting minutes from our January 3rd regular session meeting. Those meeting minutes were distributed electronically, and I trust that everyone has had the chance to review them. At this time, are there any additions, corrections, or deletions to the minutes of the January 3rd and only the January 3rd set of minutes as presented? Hearing and seeing none, do we have a motion for their adoption?
Move to adopt January 3rd, 2024 meeting minutes.
Second.
Carter and Nelson on the second by hand sign.
Aye.
Aye. Hands down, likewise opposed. Unanimously, we have meeting minutes of regular session January 3rd approved. Likewise, electronic copies of our special session January 17th meeting were distributed to all members of the board. I trust everyone likewise had the opportunity to review and reflect upon those meeting minutes. This time, are there any additions, corrections, or deletions to our special session January 17th meeting as submitted?
We also met on the 10th.
Not for the historic, that was for P and Z.
Oh, the planning and zoning, right? That's right. The 17th had the one else. Okay, I remember. Yes.
All right, hearing and seeing none, do we have a motion for their adoption?
Move to adopt special session meeting minutes January 17th, 2024.
Second.
That would be Mr. Carter, Ms. McCallum on the second by hand sign.
Aye.
Aye, hands down, likewise opposed. Very nice, unanimously, we have approved both sets of meeting minutes, regular session and special session. No old business exists that needs to come before this board at this time. New business. Our first petition is petition COA 24-01 as submitted by, sir?
No, can continue. I was just getting ready to poll on ex parte communications.
Okay, well, I can hold on reading the first one in if you,
Okay.
I yield to the counselor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Because the certificates of appropriateness hearings are quasi-judicial in nature, as I explained in the prior meeting for the Board of Adjustment, I need to poll the members of the board to see if you've had any ex parte communications with anyone regarding these. That could be the applicant, any other member of the public, staff, etc. As to COA 2401, COA 2405, and COA 2407. Mr. Nelson, have you had any ex parte communications with anyone?
No.
Mr. McMahon?
No.
Mr. Liddick?
Nothing other than the regular exercise of my duty in being briefed on and preparing the agenda.
Okay, and would those conversations in any way affect your ability to render impartial hearing and decision on these matters?
They do not.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Carter?
No.
And Ms. McCollum? Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. All right, new business. Our first petition COA 24-01 as submitted by Jennifer Holloway as owner, requesting a COA in a residential single-family 3 zoning district as established in section 4.5 of Land Development Regulations, City of Lake City, located within the Lake Isabella National Historic District and established in section 10.11.2 the Land Development Regulations on property described as parcel 13291-000, lying within Columbia County and City of Lake City.
All right, so this is COA 24
Mr.
dash
Chair,
04.
Mr. Angelo, you swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth as to these 3 items on the agenda tonight?
I do.
All right, thank you, sir.
All right, so this is COA 24-04. It is for 436 Southeast St. John Street, and they are looking to remodel the exterior facade of the building. And they are looking to go from a wood to a more of a vinyl siding type, consistent in color, as they're trying to get as close as they possibly can to the color. And they're also looking to repair or replace some of the windows in the home to, just to bring it back up to date and make everything back where it should be.
All right. One question I do have for you, Mr. Angelo, during the preparation of this COA, did you have the opportunity to work with Ms. Holloway as owner on how to interpret and use the Secretary of the Interior's guidelines in the preparation of the packet?
We did not go over the Secretary of Interior's guidelines, but I did help her prepare the packet and put the information in the packet.
Okay, and that's perfectly acceptable based on what the LDR said, the board and the city is, we're obligated to assist property owners in matters of historic preservation and preparation. And this may be more appropriate for the petitioner, but when it came to the issue of some of the replacement of the vinyl windows, some of the photographs weren't entirely clear in the package. At least as the front facade of the structure goes, in the package with these specific window choices for specific front-facing windows, is the number, quality, and character of the individual lights and panels being maintained?
So, and it would be a little bit better for the petitioner to answer some of it, but I know
And that's
through
fine, I can.
conversation, a lot of the replacement is going to be to the rear of the building and not
And
to the front of the
sides.
building. And, yeah, and sides, and not to the front of the building.
Anything else from Mr. Angelo? You may be seated. All right, is Ms. Holloway in attendance this evening? Come on down. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give before the board this evening, to the best of your knowledge and ability, is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Nice. Name with spelling and legal address of record for Mr. Angelo.
Jennifer Holloway, HOLLOWAY, 436 Southeast St. John Street, Lake City, Florida, 32025.
All right, please explain to the board what you'd like to accomplish.
What we would like to accomplish is to, I have my contractor who I've given authorization, he's gonna talk to you about the kind of materials we're gonna be using, but what we're trying to do is keep the integrity of the outside of the home. And the vinyl siding isn't your everyday vinyl siding, it actually looks like the wood. And so we're trying to do that. In regards to the windows, there are different ways besides what was in the booklet, which Mr. Martin can talk about. And in terms of the, not having to replace anything like the structure or anything, because you can do the pulleys, they have different kinds that you can use now. So primarily all we're trying to do is put the vinyl siding on the outside of our home. Some of the windows that we have, they can be replaced, the pane can be replaced. So we are trying to, but it's just certain ones have dropped down. And so we actually have makeshift, like a piece of wood, because there's, rain and heat and cold comes through those windows. So that's primarily what we're trying to do. And if it's possible, I'd like for Michael Martin to be able to speak on my behalf as well.
Before I dismiss you, are there any questions for the proponent?
No.
All right, and I do commend you. I know there is a major price difference between the traditional vinyl siding and the vinyl siding that is molded to look like 100-year-old wood panels.
Mm-hmm.
We don't see that much out of homeowners willing to, initially come to us at the first phase of this and say, well, this is what we want to do.
Yes.
Usually that occurs as, a request from us, but that is a very good thing. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, we saw you just last month or the month previous for some roof replacement, correct?
Yes, we had the roof replacement. We did keep the 3 chimneys and the roof was done and completion and the roof is great, very nice.
All right, is there anything else for the petitioner? No. Okay, at this time you may be seated. I remind you, you are still under oath if we need to call you back up.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
And before I swear you in, other Mr. Martin, at this time, if he is not on the list of agents, Mr. Angelo, is he on a list of agents that can speak as petitioner on this, or is he merely speaking as member of the public?
I thought he was on the list of agents, but he is not. But Ms. Holloway is here to.
Okay. Shall we have her affirm that he is here acting in an agent capacity for this, or do we just swear him in as member of the public?
You certainly could have her affirm, but in placing him under oath and having him state his name and his relationship to the applicant, you could establish the same thing with him being under oath, that he is her agent and speaking on her behalf. Regardless, he could offer testimony, perhaps even expert testimony on the subject as well, depending on his background as he describes it. I'm not sure of his professional and construction background, but he may also be able to offer opinion and expert testimony as well.
All right. You swear the testimony you're about to give before the board this evening, to the best of your knowledge and ability, is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Name,
It's
with
Michael
spelling, and
Martin.
legal address of record.
And it's 5191 Northwest 70th Terrace, Bell, Florida, 32619.
And you further swear or affirm that you are acting in an agent capacity for the proponent?
I do. I've been a building and roofing contractor in the state of Florida, certified for over 30 years. And also partners in the trust plant, American Trust and Chiefland, we build engineer roof trusses and all. And we are the ones that put the roof on our house, and at the time, she was saying she wanted to do something with the siding. There's been multiple additions put on the house, so it's not all of the original. There's some, the siding's not all the same all the way around the house.
It's had some additions.
Yes,
It's had some
additions. And and as far as the windows, there's the original windows from '05. None of them are working, and honestly, of the rooms, there's the room, even in the same room, the windows, there's 3 windows in one room, and they're all 3 different sizes. I guess back then they just built whatever windows they had, they framed it to fit whatever windows they had, because so basically replacing them, they're all going to have to be special made to size, but there's multiple, other than the vinyl windows that I gave you the one spec book on, there's several different ways to do it. On some of these old casement windows, they have where you can just replace the sashes, but you go in and you pull out the old sashes, and there's a track that you put in that fits inside the old frame, as long as the frame's not rotted, and they seem to be in pretty good shape. And then you replace the sashes, to give it the same look. But not all, like I said, not all the windows are the same type, and and there's also a kind of, you can fit right into the box. You take the old, the weights and stuff out. None of the windows are operable right now. A lot of them have been nailed shut, and some of them, none of them can open and close, to be honest with you. So that's, I gave her multiple choices to, when we found out we had to get approval, I told her, there's 3 different ways we can do the windows, and it just depends on what you all approve and which way we go and get them priced, but and also, I don't know if she had mentioned, I don't know, on the siding, I know there was no, originally, there was no soffit, it's just all open soffits, so I didn't know if that would be something that would be allowed, is to go back with a closed soffit on it when you do the siding, or if you prefer to leave the open, or we can go back with wood soffit, or I'm just, those are some questions that we, like to get the answers to, so.
And anything else?
No, I mean,
You know, they're willing to, you know, go with whatever type of siding, if there's color issues that you wanna stick in certain colors. We were looking at the wood grain, the Dutch lap, you know, that looks, it almost is the exact same dimensions as the wood siding that's on there now. It looks pretty much the same. From the street, you probably, you know, couldn't tell other than if you see the overlaps in the vinyl, you know.
And many of the homes in the historic district that have had exceptional degrees of wood degradation over the years,
Yes,
they've either elected to or been compelled to use that particular grained product that,
Right.
you know, from the street really matches the wood appearance.
Correct.
As opposed to going in and swapping out board for board or replacing with hardy. It is an acceptable material.
Correct.
Anything for Mr. Martin as agent of proponent from the board? I do have one thing I'd like to discuss. You said there are still multiple ways that this can be done.
Window-wise, yes.
Window-wise.
Yes.
The package on the siding looks to be, for the most part, in keeping with what would be a recommended treatment. Now, obviously, the original lab board is remaining under it, so that if some point in the future, a ambitious property owner wanted to restore the historic wood,
Right.
it would still remain there in place. And that's exactly in keeping with what the Secretary of the Interior standards would guide in that matter. As far as Article 10.11.8, subpart 6, land development regulations, where severity of deterioration requires replacement of distinctive features, windows classify as a distinctive feature. New features shall match the old and design color, texture and other qualities, and where possible, materials.
Right.
Obviously, using the vinyl product,
Right.
we've seen a lot of that done around here. It only says where possible materials, so vinyl, you're good on that. This ties into the first question I had for Mr. Angelo when I referenced the number and the configuration of the lights in each window, at least on the front facade of the structure. Having a little bit of a hard time reading through your color-coded diagrams and figuring out which exact product was going in which exact opening. Are you able to maintain the number and configuration of lights in
Yes.
the front facade? Now, going down the sides and in the back, if you want to put larger, you know, perhaps plate glass windows, you know,
Right.
that is something that, you know, typically we don't regulate the back facade of the
Right.
structure in a residential configuration when it's being done, you know, by the owner. But the front facade will maintain its original historic look in terms of character and configuration.
Correct, right, and I think there was, the majority of the windows were a single light. A lot of the older windows, now I don't know if they were taken out over the years, but a lot of the older windows back then were single light, and then they had the exterior molds, you know, wood molds on them to make it look like individual glass, but.
False mullions?
Yeah, but these are, most of them all just single light. You know, I think there might, like I said, none of the windows really match. They're just all multiple sizes and types of glass and everything all the way around the house. And I guess, you know, like I said, there's multiple additions, I guess, over the years put on there, so. We'll try and match everything that we can. I know the front there shouldn't be any issue in either of the sides. Now, maybe some of the back additions might not be as easily matched, but.
And as I said, typically as a board, we don't regulate the rear-facing portion. Usually it's, you know, that which is, you know, in the historic district or its view shed that is visible, you know, from the
street,
from the primary facade. Or if there is a secondary facade, you know, from the secondary facade as well. For example, a structure that exists at a corner.
Right.
That was really all I have. If it sounds to me like you're very erudite in this area, you know what you're doing, you've already got experience working on the structure, so. I also have to commend you on the robustness of the package you put forth. That was a pretty extensive package.
Thank you.
Aside from that, anything else for the agent of proponent? All right, hearing and seeing none, you may be seated, and I remind you, you are still under oath in case we gotta call you back up.
Yes, sir.
All right, at this time, are there any other members of the public present here this evening that would like to speak either for or against? For or against petition COA 24-01 as put forth by the proponent and agent of proponent?
My name is John Harrison.
Not yet, not yet.
Oh, I'm
You swear the testimony you're about to give before this board this evening to the best of your knowledge and ability is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, sir.
Very nice. Now,
John Harrison, next door neighbor, 448 Southeast St. John's Street, Lake City. I just want to say, they have done a wonderful job, starting with a roof. And after hearing Mr. Martin's testimony, I'm excited. I'm jealous. I'm jealous. I hope I can somehow go to the bank one day, maybe hire him to help me with mine. But that house and mine and others around there, the look is amazing for the historic part. I appreciate y'all and what your job is, and I just commend you for what you're doing. And please, continue to help these people find ways to keep their homes and keep it affordable as they update them. I mean, you can get the windows that look like the older windows, but my word, my house had some of them older windows in it before. My mom and dad had some replacement. Heating and cooling is ridiculous if once they get to be so old. So I appreciate it. I just wanted to say I'm really glad to be living next door to them. I'm just wishing I could get that far as quick as they can. God bless you all and thank you.
thank you. Is there anyone else in attendance that would like to speak either for or against petition COA 24-01 as presented by proponent and agent of proponent? Seeing and hearing none, do we have a motion to close public comment?
Motion to close public comment.
Second.
Carter, and I believe that was Miss Mary jumping in there. I think you got that one. By hand sign?
Aye.
Hands down, likewise opposed. All right, public comment on 24-01 is now closed. Discussion amongst members of the board and city departments.
Looks great.
Looks fantastic. I wish all the packages we got were this thorough. This is really good. When was the last time we saw a molding come through that already had the wood ridges on it? We didn't have to recommend it.
Long time.
Been a while. All right, anything else amongst members of the board? All right, at this time, do we have a motion to either approve or disapprove COA 24-01 as submitted?
Motion to approve COA 24-01 is submitted.
Second.
Carter and Mr. Nelson jumped in on the second this time. Mr. Angelo, will you please call the yeas and the nays?
Ms. McCullough?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Mr. Mann?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yay.
And Mr. Leidick?
Yay. All right, unanimous approval. Congratulations and go forth and do good things.
Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda, we have petition 24-05. I'm sorry, petition COA 24-05 submitted by Sylvester Warren as owner, requesting a certificate of appropriateness in a commercial general zoning district as established in section 4.12 of Land Development Regulations, City of Lake City, located within the Lake Isabella National Historic District, established in section 10.11.2 of Land Development Regulations, City of Lake City, on property described as parcel 12782-000, lying within Columbia County, City of Lake City. I remind you, you are still under oath.
Yes.
And give me just a moment so I can pull this petition up. All right.
Alright, so this is COA 24-05. It is for parcel 12782-000. More specific, it's a vacant lot next to the Greyhound bus station. That way everybody kind of knows exactly where it's at. They are looking to do major work because it is for new construction. And they are looking for like a conceptual design, something, and what the the facade of the building is gonna look like, for this. They have not chosen what retail is gonna go there yet, but they're looking to build a building so they can, eventually get retail in there. But eventually it would be at some kind of general retail.
Right, anything from Mr. Angelo? All right, similar to as I mentioned on the last petition, did you have the opportunity to work with the proponent on anything prior to the preparation and submission of their application package in terms of how to address issues in the Secretary of the Interior standards and how to comply with language in our LDRs?
I did. I worked with Mr. Warren on the, putting the packet together and, getting more in there to, for the board.
Anything for Mr. Angelo? All right, you may be seated. All right, Mr. Warren, come on down. Remind me, have you spoken during HPA yet?
No.
All right, so we gotta do this. You swear the testimony you're about to give before this board this evening, to the best of your knowledge and ability, is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Just say your name.
Sylvester.
We know the spelling, we know the.
Sylvester Warren, 930 Northeast Jocona Terrace.
All right.
So, you waiting on my spiel or?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
The floor is yours.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the Historic Preservation Committee, Board rather. My concept was to come before you prior to actually building out the concept. I've seen enough of these meetings to come and have a discussion about it prior to just getting involved in the project and then having those who live and own things in the historical district to not agree with the exterior. So I'm willing to, and really it's me, really I petition this board, not that, I'm not here to petition this board whether I can build the plaza. I'm more here as a courtesy of saying, hey, how can we work together to get the look at the most reasonable expense, but at the same time keep in conformity with the historical district of Lake Isabella. So that's my ask tonight. I think I presented some photos of brick and stone facade. I kind of got the idea, even though it was a different historical district, I was told, but I got that concept from the Hares when their building burned down, how they did with the brick facade. They went with the sloped roof and they went with the metal building. I was told that was a great concept, but that wasn't a part of the historic district that I was building in, if I'm correct. So I went and got pictures of the old plaza. I think Frank Owens owned it at one point, then my buddy Lonnie Bucci just bought it. And it's that plaza right before you get to the S&S on your left-hand side. It's identical similar to what I'm gonna be doing. It's red iron, it's a metal building, and it just has, I don't know what you call it, it's got a facade to it, but it's very antiquated, for lack of a better term. But I wanted something, my facade to be a little more modern, a little more conforming, a little more spicy.
I like that adjective.
Yeah.
Anything for Mr. Warren from members of the board thus far?
So we're just voting on the appropriateness of building a building. It's not a site plan.
Well, no, this would be, I think we may have had a miscommunication. If I'm hearing correct, he's looking to enter into, an open discussion with the board and departments about, and ordinarily this would have occurred prior to the application going in, looking for, assistance from the board, which we are mandated to do by Article 10,
Right.
working with homeowners and other interested parties. Mr. Martin, is it appropriate for that sort of direct party-on-party assistance to take place after the petition and application has already been filed?
Mr. Chair.
If you've got a copy of your LDRs in front of you, I may need to direct you to, it would be section 10.3.6, which says, advising and assisting property owners and other persons and groups, including neighborhood organizations who are interested in historic preservation. And it is under the section of powers and duties of the agency. Can that take place after an application has been filed?
I'm going to speak to it more globally and say that I think in all cases, unless there is an express prohibition for some reason, that members of city staff should be out assisting constituents and members of the public in helping them to understand and adapt to the city's laws, codes, and regulations. So to answer your question, I think it would be totally appropriate. Now, should the matter ever come back, of course, those disclosures would need to be appropriately made by staff, and Chair is certainly very sure about making sure that those matters go on the record, I've noticed, which is a good thing. But I don't think there's a prohibition. I'd go so far as to say that just as a matter of this being an effective public agency, that it's encouraged.
So where it says that the Historic Preservation Agency, herein referred to as the agency, us, one of our powers and duties of the agency includes but is not limited to advising and assisting property owners. We as a board, once an application like the one from Mr. Warren has been filed, we have the ability, let's say, based on insufficient information of what is planned here, we agree to table it. We can then work with the property owner as the agency and the powers given us in section 10.3 to be able to help him come up with a conforming design that will merit approval through its application of both the Secretary of the Interior standards and Article 10 of our own LDRs and the the design guidelines that are highlighted in Article 10.11.
You are from the government and you are here to help. So yes.
Okay.
So
I just wanted to clear that up, because in the past, we've always informed property owners that, under 10.3.6, you've got questions for subject matter experts and specialists in historic preservation. We can speak ahead of time, but the moment you file that application, we have to zip our lips due to potential ex parte issues. But because we are given the duty and responsibility to assist someone like Mr. Warren after his application has already gone in, we can work with him on this matter moving forward from today to get him to a position where his application could potentially be approved.
Correct. The only time you would run into an ex parte communications issue is if the communications were going on outside of this room. As long as they're going on inside the forum of the meeting itself, they are not ex parte. So they're going on publicly. And of course, you want to help property owners comply with the code and help them understand it. And you want to encourage them to avail themselves of others who are experts, who are not a part of this body, to come back and bring information to this body so that you can help make a decision and help them do what's appropriate with their particular structure or plan to comply with the code. I mean, at the end of the day, code compliance is really the thing you're striving for. But doing it in a way that is somewhat collaborative. So.
Just wanted to make sure that there was an old way we used to do business, and years ago we would have said, oh, you should have gotten with us before you put your application in. We have to be zipped. But okay, if we have this understanding, that's good. We can work.
And forgive me, Mr. Moore.
No.
But just to be clear, I mean, ultimately, when you're making the ultimate decision on the application, it has to be based on the evidence proffered to the board, it can't be based on the board's input itself. So, so you can help lead them to the destination, but they're the ones that have to take the steps and offer the evidence and information to this board to be able to render the decision.
And ultimately, moving forward from the proponent, we'll need an amended application that actually has, what we were presented with. Mr. Warren presented a suite of examples of veneering he could do to the structure, an example of materials that could be used, an example of porches from, I believe, one of the eateries out by the interstate. That in and of itself does not constitute this is what I want to do. That's just a conceptual. But we can work with him to get him to the point where he has an actual, this is my proposed action, this is what I want to do, and then we vote on the merits of that.
Correct.
I guess, let me rephrase it this way, Mr. Chair. The development, you know me well enough to know that the development is going to happen. My thing was to lay out a few options to see whether any of those options gave any unsettled position on what I would be willing to do as it relates to the new structure that is I'm going to be proposing to place there. So it's not like I'm like asking you to help me choose. I'm saying here's where I'm willing to go. I'm saying I'm willing to do this one, or this one, do all 3 fit, do 2 fit, this 1 fit. And if so, I take that one and, I get with Carol. I got my topo survey done. I got my survey done. And, we'll dig in the ground and get the mason jars out and get some money and go to work.
All right. One thing I'm not noticing in here, aside from your illustration on page 9 of the petition that has the dimensions of the metal building, do you have any sort of site layout or configuration as to how this metal structure is going to sit on the lot?
I can describe it to you. Me and Mr. Robert talked about it. I think the pictures in which were emailed left to right, right to left. I think it was a little confused.
Right.
Yeah. So it will face Marion Street.
Okay, so
the front will face Marion Street.
And on this drawing, the front is the narrow end or the wide end of this metal?
The wide end. So it would sit.
So where it says front, which is on the 40-foot side of the building, which is at the bottom of our image.
Right, that would face the side street.
The front would face the side street.
No, that's not the front. That's what I'm saying. Is the wording on the I can't see the paper, but the wording on the paper is kind of confusing as to how it came over. Yeah.
If we can get page 9 of 18. And at the bottom of that, it says front, it's 40 feet. Which street is that?
So.
And since you're not on mic, you mind taking the portable with you so we can get you on record?
Yeah, sorry.
Robert.
Oh, you got a point?
Hey. Oh, even better.
Yeah. I didn't realize we were so high tech.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
10 years we ain't had a pointer.
Right. I got you. So when it says 40 feet wide, Mr. Chair, we're referring to the side. And when it says 75 long, we're referring to the length. The length that I'm going up and down with the laser here, this is Marion Street.
Okay.
Right? This is, what's that side road right there? It's on the opposite side of Tucker.
Do we we have a copy of the property parcel in here? No, we don't.
Come on, you live in the historic district.
I don't remember the names of every single street in there, though.
Let's see. Here we go.
No, it's not Knox. Knox is the one that runs out in front of,
Dave Street. Okay, I'm just.
Dave, thank you. This would be Dave Street. The side of it would be Dave Street, the front would face, Marion Street, and the other 40-foot wide would face the side of the Greyhound bus station. And this would be, the rear. So the 75 feet would face Marion.
And because we don't have any drawings of how this would configure itself on
I think there's,
property.
Yeah.
The left side of your image there, where it says left 75 feet, that would be pulled all the way up to the sidewalk, or?
No.
Front yard, or?
It would meet the, city, first you have to meet the city setbacks, and so it will be a minimum of 20 off the road, 15 off the rear, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Dave, and 10 off the sides. But we would come off the rear a lot much more because we're gonna do a drive-through piece on the end because it's gonna be a small plaza. And that plaza is gonna have a drive-through, what we're gonna consider as the anchor store. And then it's gonna be 3 additional spaces there for retail, for I call necessity real estate, meaning things that the internet nor Amazon can do.
Moving down, page 10 of 18. Is this the proposed front of the structure on Marion, or are these the service entrances at the rear of the building?
So that would be the front entrance of Marion Street.
Okay. I got you, because it says right, and then.
That's why I was, it was confusing as to how it came over,
Because if you go down to 13 of
Yeah,
18,
I know.
you'll see it says front, and
Right.
that looks like an N.
Right. And that's what I was trying to make clear, that it came over with the right view, but the wrong right.
So where's your parking?
The parking would be in the front of the building.
So that's not what it's gonna look like.
No, not the grass.
You're gonna park.
Yeah, we're gonna pave it.
Are you
I'm
gonna?
gonna do the minimum, I spoke to Leroy Marshall, so I'm gonna do the minimum 3,000 square feet, so I don't have to run into the, Swanee River Water Management. There's a letter of exemption for up to 3,000 square feet of, pervious use, so.
So building, parking spaces, sidewalk, Marion Street.
Yes. It would be identical. It would be identical in setup as to the plaza right down the road. It would be almost identical versus.
There's a hairdresser.
That's
there.
what Marlene's.
Yeah, it'll be identical to it as far as layout, width, everything. I measured the width of it. It's almost the same size parking lot, same proposed concept, other than it won't look as antiquated as that building.
And that building was constructed prior to historic preservation laws going on the books here. That's why that structure exists where it does, with the parking in the front as opposed to parking in the rear, which would be the traditional style of configuring structures within a historic district, so as to mask the parking behind the structure, which is the new order of business.
And you're saying there's options, you could have brick on the bottom, you might have a porch like Cracker Barrel, which I assume is my Cracker Barrel's in there. There's options for the.
Yeah.
Okay. Is each store gonna have a sign?
Yeah, that'd be up to the person that's gonna lease the building, the space. I'm a developer, so I'm developing, I'm gonna lease it out. If you want to go in there and rent, if I were to put a name up there, then I would be responsible for changing every time someone leases in or someone goes back in and out. So I would leave that up to the person the leasee, and go from there.
Yeah, I'd like to see something along the options that you have, the brick.
Yeah, there are options of the brick in the package, I think, isn't it, Mr. Robert?
Yeah, it should be. You go down a couple more.
Page 103.
Yeah, let's try to break that up a little bit. Let's please, can we do one of those,
Now, one thing I'm noticing, and this may just be based on your computer-aided designs for the facades of the structure. If we can go back up to 10 of 18. Within both historic commercial districts and historic residential districts, I understand this is adaptively reusing a property in a historic residential district for a commercial purpose and facading a structure to look, like you said, as if it would fit in the commercial district, even though it's in residential, which isn't necessarily frowned upon in the Secretary of the Interior standards and guidelines. One thing that is specifically keyed off of for our LDRs that we have to take into effect, 10.11.8 subpart 9, where it talks about new construction. The new work shall be differentiated from old and shall be compatible with the massing, the size, the scale, and architectural features to protect the historic integrity of the property and its environment. Am I to understand this building is not gonna have windows facing out front, will only have doors?
No, it would have windows.
Okay, so those just aren't on the drawings
Right.
that you submitted. That was one of his examples of veneer.
Yeah, that's-
About the building
Yeah,
he's
they're gonna have windows.
proposing to put there.
They're gonna have windows.
Do we know what the size, shape, and dimension, materials, scaling, and architectural look of those windows is going to be yet?
I mean, if I can circle back and get that to, we haven't even gotten to the exact building stage yet. It was, like I said, it was just a meeting of the minds. And so if you want me to come back with something different, that's fine.
Are you working with a engineer and architect already?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm a professional. You see,
Okay.
Carol just came and presented.
Okay, so she's.
Yeah, like I'm like, dude,
So she's gonna be acting as your agent on this one?
you're gonna have Carol Chadwick, you're gonna have Scott Britt, you're gonna have probably attorney Tommy Reeves and other. I mean, like we're gonna do it right.
Okay, and Carol does have experience conforming a historic new
And that's
construction
something
in
that's
the
something you're gonna have to talk to Carol about. I can't speak to Carol's historical mindset and skills and what she's done in historical districts. That would be out of my scope of ability.
Because one of the things we're in the business of trying to accomplish is a slow yes rather than a fast no. So knowing you've got specialists working for you and that this is only preliminary, that
Right.
gives us a starting point to
Absolutely.
work from. Based on the minimal nature of the application here, obviously you came here in all expectation that this would end up getting tabled, but we would continue working together to
Sure.
get you to a yes, correct?
Yes.
Okay. What other questions, comments, or recommendations do we have from members of the Historic Preservation Agency for the proponent?
any landscaping?
Oh, yeah. Let me put it this way. I own property in the historical district, and I'm sure that some of y'all are aware, and,
It's right across Marion Street. There's some all over, you have several.
yeah, I have several in the historical district, and I've taken some of the historical Isabella district worst projects that were the most eyesores and have made them, as a matter of fact, I made Dwayne Thomas so jealous that he went and redid his whole building. Right, so my work, and Dave has worked with me years of building spec houses and being a developer and doing different things. I promise you, it would be the most solid, best thing that would be on the strip. And I'm willing to take advice from the board, y'all can direct staff to certain ideas. I'm gonna do the project and I wanna do it right, and I'm gonna do it right, and I'm gonna do the project, and it's gonna be mind-blowing, and it's gonna be something that I believe is gonna help to improve and grow the downtown. Downtown needs to grow outward instead of everything being bundled up in the middle. I still consider it to be downtown. I think downtown, in my opinion, runs all the way to Dale.
All right, you say you are familiar and have been presented with a link for where to find the design guideline that would regulate our decision in this matter, which is the U.S. Department of the Interior, Secretary of Interior Standards for Rehabilitation and Guidelines for Rehabilitating or Reconstructing Historic Buildings.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if you would, I mean, I know you work for the federal government and you seem to have a lot of expertise. You have any suggestions while we're in the public, as the attorney said, and you can kind of like sketch me out some stuff and write some stuff down, and then I think I can have a expert list at that point to work off of.
I can't sketch, however, when it, oh, I see him pulling his mic down.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think we're getting ready to go in the right direction, but what I was going to suggest is that anything, you know, that happened kind of come from the board itself here in the open meetings, or you could work directly with staff, but to be working with a member of the board.
I was being comical.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, for example, in the Secretary's guidelines, there are entire sections that deal with properly facading a structure to match the character of the historic district. So let's face it, structures come down in the historic district and we gotta rebuild them. They could be facaded in a way. You've obviously begun the process of doing your due diligence. There's examples of stone veneering, brick veneering. While I don't think Cracker Barrel will be very pleased with us stealing their copyrighted design, yes, a wooden porch with a metal roof on it will, you know, go a very long way towards making that a conforming structure. I would say additionally, you know, by looking at some of the sections within that document that is there to assist not only us in decision-making, but assist you as the property owner in coming up with the plan that, you know, you and Carol are eventually gonna present to us. There's an enormous amount of great data in there. And the way it's set up, when you get into the section on, you know, see, the standards are all written as shall. There's only about 18 of those. The guidelines are written in terms of a series of illustrations and short phrases of recommended versus not recommended. It is a very simple document to kind of get examples of what are the recommended treatments. It's almost a menu of what you can do. There's even a section on how to recreate the look of historic storefronts on new construction metallic buildings.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from, Mr. Chair, and I would definitely do that, and I don't think I'm gonna go that far, but I'm definitely gonna make sure that,
I'm not saying you need to build Disneyland.
Right.
We're not doing Main Street USA.
Right.
Well, like, did you see how the previous lady took the effort to step up the siding to make it look kind of more like wood? We can do that with this.
That's fine. I mean, hey, I'm here for suggestions. I'm open. My whole thing is to get some feedback and to hear what you board members would have to say, and so I can rattle that around and get that over to Kara and work with staff. And
now, the very first step usually in doing a historic reconstruction, you know, the very first step, you know, after you get the land, obviously. Do you have any idea which particular time period of Lake City that you are attempting to recreate? Are we talking about a 1920s to 1930s semi-Art Deco type facade? Are we talking about the early 1900s? Are we talking about
cheapest? Whichever one comes out to be the cheapest.
Whatever's cheapest. So you haven't even selected a time period yet?
Yeah, I've selected the time period. Which one is the cheapest?
Ironically, y'all, it would be the oldest time period. Facading this to look like an 1800s farmhouse would be the cheapest.
And it may look like that if it comes out to be the cheapest. Cause I normally do my projects in cash, so if whichever one comes out to be the cheapest, I'm actually being serious, though it sounds comical.
So no Queen Anne.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not doing.
All right, I think we kind of all understand where we're sitting here.
Yes, sir.
It makes me feel a lot better knowing you weren't expecting a fast yes coming in here.
No.
But I think working together, especially once you have Carol on board and she can prepare some architectural renderings.
Yes, sir.
That take into account the Secretary of the Interior standards, I think we'll be in a position where your proposal can be voted on for either approval or disapproval.
Right.
But at this time, and I'm not going to, canvass the board or make any particular statement, I'm gonna say I believe this will be a extended process at least through the next meeting or two. Before we try to call for a vote, just to give whoever is in attendance the opportunity to speak, let me ask you to sit down for a moment. We'll very, very likely call you back up, but I would like to get public comment on record so that we can continue toward the tabling if possible.
Okay, and that is expected. I came in with that expectation, and again, I just want the board and the community to know that I came in with the idea of working together.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so. Do you want this fancy thing?
All right, so at this time, having heard the testimony of the proponent, do we have anyone in attendance that would like to speak either for or against petition COA 24-05? Hearing and seeing none, do we have a motion to close public comment?
Motion to close.
You're the proponent. We may call you back up. You're not public.
Second that motion.
Motion and second came off Mr. McMahon. Show of hands.
Aye.
Aye. Hands down, likewise opposed. All right, unanimously, public comment on this petition for this evening is closed. Discussion amongst members of the board?
Love to see more retail space downtown.
Absolutely.
Just procedurally curious, would it be a tabling or a continuance in this case
Our previous attorney had said there's not much of a difference between the two.
Can I, Mr. Chair, if you would, if you do anything?
We're not gonna call for a motion yet, we're just in discussion.
Okay.
For our new attorney, do you find any difference in the lexicon of tabling versus continuance?
Effectively, there isn't any, tabling is a matter of parliamentary procedure. Continuance is typically used in a courtroom setting. So probably, that attorney was more of a trial attorney than I am.
So we're in between the two. Which one would you like to see us use?
The net effect is the same, but if you want to stick more to the parlance of the forum, it would be to table. So.
Okay.
Sounds like he's on the right track as far as the facade and stuff.
I'd like to see a few more details. I'll be honest, this is the first I heard it was next to the bus station. I drove by 132 Southwest Columbia Avenue, and that wasn't it. I was very confused on where this was even located. So, I mean, when the form is blank and there's no description, no address, it's very difficult to conceptualize it. I'm glad we had this discussion. Now I have a much more clear idea, but I didn't even know where this was. So I'd like to know the address. Somewhere really prominent, because I need sometimes special time to put this together. So just the basics would be good, and then I'd like to see some conceptualized drawings. I'm looking forward to it.
As far as the address, we cannot get a 911 address for a vacant lot.
Okay.
And once he applies for a permit, then an address would be assigned by 911.
Okay.
But to be clear, it's on the corner of Marion and Mead, probably, right?
Dave?
Is it Dave? Yeah. Google Maps says Mead.
Any?
Means, I believe it's plural.
One more Mead. The proponent was.
Yeah, I think this can move forward as a ongoing process.
And then this top there. Three.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
We're good.
Obviously, I understand all the board's, reservations given the paucity of what was in the actual submittal. Especially given the fact that the entire project description and proposed materials to be used section was vacant, but he's early in the process.
Yeah.
He knows the metal building of the skeleton he wants to use.
It's a blank
He
canvas.
wants to work with the
Blank
board for a skin.
Right.
We do, have the ability to, not require that a Victorian style home be built in its place like that which was taken down, even though it is a national historic district for its residential character. Putting a commercial style building of the era in there is not going to grotesquely detract from anything and impact historic values or monetary values.
Mhm.
Developing that lot's gonna do nothing but increase the property values in that section of the neighborhood. Unless he develops it too nice and it looks all Queen Anne, he's gonna price everyone out. You wanted to come on up?
Mr. Chair and members, I was hoping for this positive communication, and I was hoping and recommending that we table it because my whole purpose was
To introduce it.
to hear thoughts and feedback and kind of mindset of which way, which direction I can send Carol off in.
All right.
And so I appreciate y'all entertaining me. Appreciate the attorney saying that y'all could entertain me. Appreciate the feedback and I'm sorry that you missed the spot but you kind of got an idea of what I'm trying to do. And so that was more important to me than anything, is that this board is aware as historical preservation what I'm trying to do and that I'm interested in trying to meet the satisfaction of the board. Thank you.
Thank you. That being said, anything else from members of the board or from city officials or our esteemed council?
No.
Seeing and hearing none, do we have a motion to either approve, disapprove, or table petition COA 24-05?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to table COA 24-05 for now until the March meeting to give the proponent time to
Flesh out a package.
flesh out a package, exactly, there you go.
Second.
All right, that was Carter and McCallum on the second. Mr. Angelo, will you please call the yeas and the nays?
Ms. McCollum,
Yes.
Mr. Nelson,
Yes.
Mr. Mann,
Yes.
Mr. Carter,
Yay.
and Mr. Leidy.
Yay. All right, petition 24-05 has been tabled for future discussion pending Mr. Warren getting with his engineer and his architect. All right, let's move this forward and see what we can do redeveloping a vacant lot in the historic district. All right, final item on our agenda, petition COA 24-07 submitted by Beverly Standridge as agent for the ARC North Florida, Inc., requesting a certificate of appropriateness in a residential office zoning district as established in section 4.10 of the Land Development Regulations, City of Lake City, located within the view shed of the Lake Isabella National Historic District as established in section 10.11.2 of those Land Development Regulations, and on property described as parcel 13734-000 within Lake City of Columbia County, Florida. Let me pull that petition up before you begin, Mr. Robert. And get down to some illustrations. All right. I'll remind you, you are still under oath. Correct.
So this is for COA 24-07. It's for 311 South East Bay Drive. They are looking, this is the one that we just heard the special exception on, that's looking to do the adult care facility in. Some of the work that they're looking to do is the rebuilding of the porch, because a lot of it is dilapidated and falling apart. And they're also looking to, because the previous tenant was more in the photo business, and they closed up all the windows and, tried to make it more of a dark room setting in there. So they're wanting to open that up and remove some of the vinyl siding to open up some of the windows that are in there. And then also they're gonna have some work to do on some of the doors, but a lot of that is on the interior part of the building.
Right. And then I do remember having seen something, do we have a proposed site plan in this petition, or was that on the last one?
Might have been on the last one. It's, as far as the.
On the last one, there was to be an ancillary structure for waste collection bins, correct?
I believe so, I don't remember.
Do we have, or have you been presented with anything that would show how that ancillary side structure is gonna conform with the existing construction?
No, I do not.
Okay, so we do not know what the ancillary structure will look like.
I do not, no, sir.
Okay, and that would be part of this COA normally.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Alright, and then, alright, that's all I have for Mr. Angelo. Anyone else have anything for Mr. Angelo?
Nope.
Maybe seated. All right, Ms. Standridge, please come down. You swear the testimony you're about to give before the board this evening, to the best of your knowledge and ability, is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, it is. I would like,
Name and legal
Beverly
address, correct?
Standridge, 511 Gold Kiss Boulevard, Southwest, Live Oak, Florida, 32060. I would like to defer to my operations director. He's the one that's heading all of this part up, and I don't want to give bad answers, so if you don't mind.
Hold that thought. Mr. Angelo, do we have him on file as being a agent of proponent?
I do not see one.
Okay, I'll handle
I'll
that.
do the best I can.
I'll handle that when I oath him.
Is that
All right,
okay?
you may be seated. You swear the testimony you're about to give before this board this evening, to the best of your knowledge and abilities, is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Name with spelling and legal address of record for Mr. Angelo, please.
Bobby Cason, BOBBY, CASON, 931 Second Avenue, Southeast, Jasper, Florida, 32052.
All right, the floor is yours.
As the drawings that I entered with the, we are just changing some of the interior doors for the wheelchair egress for our patients or our clients, so that they can get through. Most of the doors in this whole facility is 32 inches, it's got to be at least 36. So we'll be changing those out. As he spoke to, the previous owner was a photographic shop, and one of the rooms, he completely closed all the windows in with the vinyl siding, very poor vinyl siding as a matter of fact. We're going to just open it back up. We're going to scrape all the windows, clean all the windows, but open them back up where they can be utilized as they are properly supposed to be used. There is one exception that is not on the list that he did not mention when he brought it up. There is 2 exterior doors, according to the fire marshal, will have to be changed to an outside egress, where it will swing out instead of swinging into the building. They're also, those particular doors, the way they're framed at 35 inches, so it's 1 inch short for the wheelchairs. We do want to replace those 2 doors as well. There are 5 panel solid wood doors. We have looked at those doors. We're going to, they will be exactly the same door that's there. They'll just be they replaced and painted to match the building. The front porch is the deck. It's very spongy across the whole part of it. The very front edge of it is rotted out. So we're going to put, it's tongue and groove wood, we're going to replace it with tongue and groove wood. The only other thing that needs to be repaired on the outside at this time is from the storm damage, there was some of the soffit area was damaged, and we're going to replace it as well.
Okay. As there was no drawings that were submitted with this petition, this is gonna take a bit longer. Can we pull up his petition and look at, starting at page 8 of 21, and I guess we're gonna go through and, whereas a set of measured proposed work drawings would have covered this, can you please go through starting at page 8 and let's, can we get him the laser pointer, please? And can you describe to us what it is exactly you are planning, as we do not have drawings for this?
I'm sorry.
Not a problem.
The drawing is you drew up with that. It just basically showed, the state drawing that showed what we were gonna be doing. This wall here is one of the double windows that's covered up with, there's a triple window on this end, and on the other side of that same room is, the other two windows that's covered up. Okay, they're right there, yeah, right there's the other two windows. This door here is at 35 inches, this door here is at 35 inches. So both of those will have to swing out according to the fire marshal. And there'll be a knock box, put there also for, egress by the fire department. Okay, as far as that's concerned, that's all that's gonna be changed there.
And that rear facing door, that was a add-on after the historic time period of this structure.
Yes, sir.
That is not a historically conforming door, that is a relatively modern door. So-
We're going to change it to where it looks like the front door.
Okay.
This is a 5-pound door. Okay? That's the end we just looked at just a moment ago. Those windows are just going to be, like I say, just open back up so that they can be utilized. That's the front porch, the deck area here from the front door all the way to this end is all spongy. And there's the front that I was telling you about, this completely rotten across this front area.
And then the photos of the materials to be used, this,
That's a piece of soffit material.
okay.
There's, right across the front, there's where the soffit's missing.
And those are the photographs of ancillary structures in the neighborhood showing the conformance.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, I didn't mean to take too much of your time.
No, sir, no.
Without a drawing, sometimes we've
I
got.
apologize for that.
When was it built?
1920.
Is that right? Very distinctive there in Beta.
Yes, sir.
Obviously, it's not part of your scope of work, but, in the future, any desire to take off that 1960, metal railing and put a 1920s balustrade back in? We can't make you do it, but it would be nice.
Boss says yes.
Are you putting a ramp there, or are you gonna keep the stairs?
On the back side of the building, the ramp already exists.
Oh, I see, okay.
Yeah, and there's a handicap parking that's right by the ramp.
Now, utilizing this image that's on the screen.
Yes, sir.
At the back of the driveway at left of frame, is that where I saw the waste receptacle
Yes,
structure?
sir, I'll have to apologize for that. The former owner gave us that drawing, and I did not realize that there was a trash receptacle drawn on that drawing. There is not one existing now, and we do not plan to do it.
Oh, okay, because as part of the special exception, I was thinking that was the one drawing we did get. I thought you were planning on putting in.
No, I do apologize for that. She gave us that the day of closing, that her son had drawn, he's an architect, and he had drawn the drawing. And I think it was a conception drawing, and I did not realize that was on there, because It shocked me whenever I came back up to the facility that it wasn't there. But we're not gonna do that, we're just gonna use the trash cans, they're gonna pick them up right on that corner.
And I believe at a previous meeting, the derelict shed that would be off to the right behind that curb cut, you've gotten permission to demo that due to its,
It's about
due to the fact
90%.
it was about to demo itself.
It's about 90% demoed right now. Some of the wood that was in the back of that old shed and some of the pretty stuff people already laid your eyes on.
The stuff in the front was falling down on its own.
Yes, there was.
I don't mean, I believe that satisfies most of my questions as relates to materials and site plan and overall performance with the district. Does anyone else have anything for agent of proponent?
No.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in attendance that would like to speak either for or against petition COA 24-07? Hearing and seeing none, do we have a motion to close public comment?
Motion to close public comment.
Second. I think I'll give that one to Ms. McCallum. All right, by hand vote? Aye. Hands down, likewise opposed. All right, public comment on petition COA 24-07 is now closed. This time, discussion amongst members of the board.
I think it's great. Love to see a business opening up and doing stuff.
Absolutely.
In the future, can we hold them to drawings of the proposed work in 10, 11, 9, 1, so we don't have to have them go to the board? Because I understand the public can't see what's going on that board. And eventually our attorney might tell me about myself.
But not right now.
He seems like a nice guy, Chris.
Hey, sometimes we all gotta be told about ourselves, so that's life. All right, there being no further comment amongst members of the board, do we have a motion to either approve or deny issuance of COA 24-07 or a motion to table it pending additional information?
Motion to approve COA 24-07.
And that'll be Carter, who I believe has now done every single petition on the agenda this evening, and Mr. Nelson with the second.
I do look around and wave one Mississippi.
Oh. There's a method to his madness. All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor to approve. Mr. Angela, will you please call the yeas and the nays?
Ms. McCollum?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Mr. Mann?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yay.
And Mr. Leidig?
Yay. Very nice. Unanimously, we have approval for issuance of COA 24-07. Congratulations.
So we're gonna find out in the next week or two if it's gonna be the first or second Tuesday of the month.
Sounds like it.
Well, I hope it moves to the second, because I already briefed all my family members and moved stuff around on my personal schedule.
We don't see what we can do.
We're gonna see what we can do, all right. What we can do is what we can do. Anything of a workshop or discussion nature anyone wants to bring up, either members of the board or members of city staff or the attorney's representative?
Well, y'all remember earlier when I said the word continuance, and apparently it's irrelevant. We really do need that decorum workshop, but otherwise.
I think that wouldn't be a bad idea. Would the city council mind if some of us piggyback in on that workshop and sit in the back of the room?
There's no need.
It's open to the public.
Okay.
And if I may, I do think it is February 26th. Somebody mentioned March. They actually moved it up
I think
to February
last night.
last night.
Yes.
Yeah,
They shuffled things
they
around.
flip-flopped the housing, affordable housing to March and
March.
yeah.
Just so all of us can get that on our Outlook calendar, if it'd be possible for whoever is heading that up to send an email message to all members of the board informing us of the date and the time of that, should we elect to attend.
I'll be there anyways.
Anything else of a workshop or discussion nature for members of the board, members of the bar, or members of the city? Hearing and seeing none, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
You gave her that one. Good job, brother. We have a motion and a second by hand sign.
Aye.
Aye. Hands down. If you're opposed, you can stay.